Okay, Klipspringers, welcome to the official race briefing of Klipspringer 2023. As you can see, the things I do for the love of you guys. I'm cooking my head to give you a view of the magnificent river. Not too worried about how I look, it's all about this beautiful environment and hopefully the things I have to say. So loving the virtual race briefing format. It gives us the opportunity to do things like this, and yeah, enjoy the race video. You've got an opportunity to play it back, catch parts that you missed, listen to it, watch it while you drive on your way out here to Ochravis, and yeah, drive safe. Okay, the first thing I need to do is just refer everybody to the website for their pre-race briefings that they may have missed. Even if you haven't missed them, just go back and remind yourselves of what we said and some of the important things that we mentioned in those pre-race briefings. They're all on the website. You can find a specific menu item for the race briefings, pre-race briefings 1 through 3. Make sure that you're acquainted with all of that important information on the website. Please also make sure that you are well acquainted with the information on the website under the race info section. There's a lot of important stuff there that you do need to know for the weekend, or is going to make your lives a whole lot easier for the weekend. So make sure you check out the pre-race briefings and race info on the website. I'm not going to be repeating all the information in those communications or telling you what's on the website. So go have a look at and see all of that for yourself. There's a couple of specific things that I'll deal with here, and anything else you will be free to ask questions. If anybody has any questions, I'll give my WhatsApp number. Just WhatsApp me with any questions or email me. Try not to call unless it's urgent, because we're out there a lot of the time in the desert and the signal is patchy, and it's much easier by WhatsApp. The first thing is that registration is tomorrow. That is Friday afternoon in the park, in the conference center, just by the reception, from 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 6 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll register, pick up your race packs, your bags, your shirts and everything else, and yeah, in the park where you are going to be going to the reception to get your pass outs and everything else that you need. Then the starting times, as usual, the challenge starts at 7 o'clock, 7 a.m. in the morning on Saturday and Sunday. You see the website for the start locations and where you need to be. 7 o'clock for the challenge, 30 minutes later, 7:30 for the light. So you can see all of the information around driving and distances and ferry logistics and things like that, and you can calculate your own time budget to make sure that you're there on time. Compulsory equipment, it's always worth a re-mention. We're lucky here in the desert, we don't have to deal with snow or sleet or tornadoes or extreme cold, but we do have to deal with heat. So it makes the compulsory equipment requirement quite simple. Water. You will need a space blanket, it's part of the compulsory equipment. You will need a charged phone, part of the compulsory equipment, but you will need water carrying capacity, and you will need to start compulsory with 1.5 liters for challenge runners and a minimum of 1 liter for light runners. It's hot this weekend. We are catering with a lot of water and a lot of hydration, but please make sure you don't get caught out there dry. We will be watching as well to see that there's visible signs of people carrying sufficient water. We will be doing spot checks, and although we are here to have fun, this is a serious business, and people do die from heat stroke and dehydration, literally. So we won't be taking a tolerant approach to anybody who is seen to be or found to be without the minimum requirements in terms of their water. Another important thing to remember is the start procedure in terms of the tear-off slips that everybody has on their race number. So the race numbers are pre-populated with your name, and your tear-off slips are pre-populated with your name. So for example, it's going to be race number 101, Warren King, and there will be 2 tear-off slips at the bottom of that race number, for one for day 1, one for day 2, with Warren King and 101. Before you start on each day, there will be a receptacle for you to put that tear-off slip into. Please, please, please don't forget. We will try and make sure that everybody does not forget, but it is up to you. That is our final control. That is our most important control, and that is the control by which we know who is out there in the desert. It's not about registration. It's not about even people who picked up their shirt or their race number. It's about, if that tear-off slip is in the box on the morning, we know that that person is out there. And if they aren't accounted for when the sweeper comes in, we know that that person is still out there. If the tear-off slip is not in the box, we don't think you're out there, and you might be out there and we're not going to look for you. So please, please make sure that your tear-off slip at the beginning of each day is put into the requisite box. Our marking this year is the same as it's always been, the traditional orange ribbons that we've been using at Klipspringer for some time. They're biodegradable, they're easy to put onto trees, less easy to take off with the thorns in this part of the world. So have a thought of appreciation for not only the markers, who have done a fantastic, brutal job, but for the people who have to do the even more brutal job of removing those markers. So the course is comprehensively marked. It's virtually impossible to get lost, but I know people have challenged me before, so I throw out a challenge. I challenge anybody to get lost. But okay, no, I'm joking, don't get lost. But it's very hard to get lost. The course is comprehensively marked, and it makes sense. If at any stage you feel like you might be lost, you probably are. You really shouldn't be without sight of a marker, either in front of you or behind you, for any period of time longer than a minute. So if you do think you're lost, stop going forward and backtrack to the last place that you saw a marker and try and pick it up from there, and you will pick it up from there. The other thing is that we now have this platform where we're able to easily download the GPX tracks, which is great, but remember this, a very important principle. The primary method of marking is the ribbons. The ribbons override any GPX track or anything else that you may have downloaded. In the event of a discrepancy, if your watch says you should be going there but the marker's over there, follow the marker. This is remote, untrailed territory for the most part, especially on day 1 on Saturday, and there is the complete possibility that the ribbon marking is not identical to the GPX track that you may have downloaded. In the event of a discrepancy, follow the ribbons. There is a rhythm to the marking which you'll pick up quite quickly, and don't blunder forward. If you get a sense of a rhythm and you're starting to expect a ribbon every X amount of meters or time, and then you don't see one, think about it and maybe pause, and you can save a lot of time by just making double sure, stopping, looking around. 30 seconds is all it'll take. Make sure you are on the trail, rather than running for 2 minutes and then having to run back another 2 minutes. And okay, you guys, most of you have done this before a few times, not necessarily Klipspringer, but trail races, so you are experienced. It's not about not getting lost. I always say, from my personal experience, I get lost. It's about how you react to getting lost, how quickly you actually respond, and what you do when you do get lost. So don't just blunder forward. Also remember, on day 2 on Sunday, you are doing by and large, the traditional Klipspringer hiking trail. So most of your route will also be supported by the green and white Sandparks Klipspringer hiking trail marking boards. So again, the ribbon always overrides everything else, but I can't think of a place where the ribbon and the Klipspringer boards will have any kind of deviation from each other. So on the Saturday, we're out there in what I like to call a part of the world that possibly no human beings have ever set foot, at least parts of this park, I'm sure. And it is much more remote, but the trail will be easy to follow. Some good news for challenge runners: the gorge and the river section are in. We've been we've scouted it, we've had a look, we've hiked it, we've run it. It's going to be tough, but it's always tough. A little bit slower going this year, we expect, because what's happened with the massive floods over the last 2 years is that a lot of silt or river sand has been deposited higher than usual in the gorge. It's pretty compacted and pretty solid for the most part, but it has changed the nature of that run in the gorge. But it's always been hard. It's always been boulder hopping. It's always been tricky. What we do want to say is, don't take any step for granted. If there is sand between rocks, don't assume that it's hard sand and it's going to take your weight. Be a little bit more cautious than you would otherwise normally be, where the ground is, let's call it, almost freshly turned over. But it is as safe as it ever is, and it's going to be as tough as it ever is. But we are pleased to say that legendary feature of the Klipspringer race is back in this year after some massive flooding the last couple of years. Another reminder for those of you who haven't done Klipspringer before: we don't mark the gorge. You can't get lost. You've got granite cliffs on either side of you. You've got a river to the right that always needs to stay to the right, and there's nowhere really to go. We mark into the gorge, you turn left, and then we mark out of the gorge. It'll be quite clear when you have ended the river section. Very little chance or danger of thinking that you need to carry on past that. But within the gorge, we don't mark. There are Klipspringer trail markers, but we encourage you to take your own line, work out for yourself which is going to be what you think is the most convenient or efficient particular route within the gorge, and take that. As a general rule, we say stay high. There's often the gravitation to go lower. When you're up, you feel like you want to go down. Keep an eye out and decide what the things look like in front of you, and sometimes it really does work out better to stay higher rather than having to climb all the way down and then climb all the way back up onto the boulders and carry on. Checkpoints, I'm not going to repeat the checkpoint detail in terms of where they are and the distances between them. That's all on the race info and in all of the information that you will hopefully have looked at and have in your head by now. I will repeat the checkpoint procedure. This ties into the tear-off slips at the beginning of the race. What we will do, each checkpoint water table will have dedicated marshals who are responsible for ticking off numbers. Make sure that your number is ticked off. Don't just run past a guy with a pad and a pen and assume that he's got you. If he hasn't said to you 101, actually ask him, Marshal, do you have 101? And wait for him to repeat it back. Wait for him or her to repeat it back to you, and make sure that your number is ticked off. That allows us to control who's out there from between the start, the first checkpoint, the second checkpoint. And again, if anything happens, we kind of have an idea of where to go and look for lost people. It really is a big safety feature, so make sure that you take that checkpoint number checking quite seriously. On the checkpoints and water tables, I think this is a good time to thank our wonderful water table aid station partners in McDonald's Transport. They're back at the most beautiful, spectacular water table at a trail race event in the world. That is an official award, according to me, and they win it. It is, if you haven't been past this water station before, it's a treat. There isn't anything like this in the world. So thanks to the guys at McDonald's, thanks to the guys at Raisins South Africa for the goodie bag additions and for the support at the aid stations. Thanks to South African National Parks, who are helping with aid stations, the honorary rangers, the full-time rangers, and other park staff here at the wonderful Ograbis Falls National Park. Thanks to the Northern Cape Tourism Association, who are also participating this year and supporting us at getting you through this hot, hard course with food and water and fun. So thanks to all of those sponsors. A reminder that Klipspringer, as it has been for the last couple of years, is a carry your own event, which is, we don't have to explain why anymore. I think that it is quite obvious why we try and minimize the use of single-use plastic, styrofoam, whatever the case may be, litter. It's just, yesterday I was out marking in the northern part of the park, and it is just so, I don't know, refreshing to be out in an environment where, like, for hours you don't see a single piece of litter. So that's part of the reason why we carry your own. But remember to pack, to carry your collapsible cup, your bladder, your soft flask, or even your half-liter water bottle that you bought at the shop. If you're using it for the race, it means it's not single use anymore. You're using it more than once. So although that's not ideal, it saves having little pieces of styrofoam and plastic everywhere. So thanks to everybody for that. Okay, sorry about the constant editing, but I haven't really mastered editing a full video and cutting out mistakes or inadvertent swear words. So one more thing is the cutoffs. The cutoffs, all the details and information is on the website and in other communication that you've received. I'm not going to repeat when cutoff times are and stuff like that. It's all there. Make sure you do know it. The cutoffs, a lot of thought goes into our cutoff times, and the principle that we apply is to make sure we give people as much time as possible to be out there and enjoy themselves and have fun. We don't require everybody sprint from point to point or cutoff to cutoff point. They are generous cutoffs. We've very seldom had to cut anybody off. They're there to give you pretty much the whole day if you need it. You won't need it. You'll want to be in, because it's by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, it's getting hotter and hotter. So you're going to want to be in and enjoying that wonderful Bushman's Brew beer at Kamkiri or in the park. They are generous cutoffs, but we do enforce them strictly. If you get to a cutoff point and you are even a minute outside of the cutoff time, it means you're not going to get to the next one, so we're going to cut you off. The other thing is that race organizers and the race staff do have discretion to apply their judgment. You might have made a cutoff point by a couple of minutes, but if you are finished, exhausted, not even sweating anymore because you're dehydrated, throwing up, can't speak, incoherent, we may make a call and say, sorry buddy, but it's better for you and for the race and the safety of everyone involved to cut you off now. And that, again, we've never had to do that, but we will if we have to. You should have all received an SMS already this morning talking about the Michies. I've subsequently found out exactly why we have this issue this year, and because the water's been so high consistently for the last couple of years and at certain times, they haven't been able to spray as they would normally, and these little Michies have just proliferated. They've exploded. So really, if you can get one of those face nets, I would suggest it. Don't think you're going to get one in Kakamas because apparently they're sold out, but it is a good idea. Buffs, make sure you've got a couple of buffs that you can put over your face from time to time in the race, and insect repellent. I don't wear repellent well because I sweat it off, but I certainly, from being out there yesterday, I would definitely have done with insect repellent on my head, my ears, my neck, or my shirt. It will make a big difference to your race tomorrow. So net if you can, buffs, sunglasses. Cello out there marking today said the sunglasses saved him, keeping his eyes free of the bugs, and insect repellent is pretty much a must. Okay, some final etiquette, and then you've had enough of me and the river. Withdrawals, very important. If you do withdraw for any reason, please make sure that you let us know. If you don't let us know, and it's happened to me at races in the past where I've gone out there to look for people because somebody bailed, they got a lift somewhere, didn't tell the organizers, went home, turned off their phone because they were tired and went to sleep, and we're out there looking for them. The emergency number, which is my number, is on your race number. If you do withdraw, please let us know. We do have sweepers. We've got great sweepers, as always, this year at Klipspringer. We've got a couple of guys at the back in traditional sweeper roles of the light and the challenge, and we've got a roaming sweeper to pick up the slack if necessary and to kind of cover the field. So you will see them, they will be able to help you. If you need any help, you'll be able to call on them. So yeah, thanks to the sweepers. Another point is, I learned this from an experienced trail runner, and in fact it was quite a sad story. The result was not a good one, but the lesson was stay on the trail. If you need to do your business, it happens. Running stomach, it happens. If you're feeling very, very tired and exhausted and want to lie under a tree in the shade, it happens. So if you're going to lie under a tree, don't go off the trail and lie under a tree. Lie under a tree on the trail. The last thing we want is for somebody to lie under a tree and have some kind of medical event, and this is that sad story, and nobody knew because the person was in the bush somewhere. And all it takes is 10 meters off the trail. And it was a terrible story. So don't go off the trail. If you do have to do your business, then do go off the trail, please. But there's a trick here. Take your bag off and leave your bag on the trail. So if anything happens to you, you fall, you pass out, you get eaten by a snake, people coming past will see this lonely bag sitting on the trail and think, hey, what happened to Warren there? Let's go and have a look. So that is a good trick. In the event of emergencies, there's signal on the majority of the trail, but not everywhere. In the event of needing to make a call or make a connection, then the trick is to get up high. There are sections of the trail where you're like in a valley or in the gorge, for example, in a little gully, and you won't have signal there. If you don't want to wait until you get out of it naturally and you need to make that call, just climb. Usually there's somebody around you, if not the sweeper, there'll be somebody who's feeling pretty strong, and they'll be able to climb. And they'll be able to climb and make the call, and then we'll be able to alert the medics and we'll locate you and we'll be able to help you there. So cell phones are important. Make sure your phones are charged on Friday night. Okay, a couple of last points of etiquette and then you're rid of me. What was that last point? Concentrate. Okay, you see. Anybody who has ever thought about the difference between road running and trail running will know the significant differentiating factor with trail running is the requirement of constant concentration. You can't not concentrate for a second. The consequences can be a broken leg, a sprained ankle, missing of a marker and getting lost, falling off a cliff. So it requires constant concentration. This is why some road runners just never take to trail running. They find the need for constant concentration too exhausting and draining. So please try and concentrate. Later on in the morning towards lunchtime, it's going to be getting hot. It's getting harder to concentrate, but that makes it all the more important as you get tired. Litter, it goes without saying, trail runners don't litter, but it does happen by mistake. A little goo sachet falls out of your pocket, a tissue falls out of a bag. Try and make sure your stuff is as secure as it can be, and if you see somebody else's stuff, we're not running through an environment that has generations of crap on the ground. It really is pristine. So if you see something, it's probably fallen out of one of your fellow trail runners' bags. Just pick it up, stuff it in your pocket. We appreciate it, and we throw it away at the end. Almost the last thing, take time to appreciate where you are and what you're doing. It always gets me. It's a privilege, it really is a privilege to be doing what we're doing in this place that we're doing it. There's so many people who can't, and take the time to enjoy it. I know some of us are here to race. I know that there will be times on the course out there over the next few days where people will be cursing me, themselves, their gods, whatever they choose to curse. But take the time to enjoy it, take pictures and enjoy yourselves. We've got great photographers on the course. Smile when you see them, jump, do cartwheels, wear your shirts. Our Garmin partners Anatomic have outdone themselves once again with a wonderful shirt, and they make for fantastic images and memories. We'll wear them out on the trail over the course of the weekend, and most importantly, have fun. This is really a special weekend. It's a special race. It's tough as anything, but it's as much fun as one can have. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, please WhatsApp me. My number is on a lot of the communication, but to repeat it now, it's 083 449 4113, and that's it. Drive safely. Enjoy watching and re-watching, not my red face, but the beautiful, high, fast-flowing river behind. So just as a point there, it's way lower than it was in last year's generational flood, but it's probably running at about double the average flow for this time of year. So it's pretty spectacular. Drive safe. See you guys at registration, and if I don't speak to you at registration, have a blast and enjoy the Klipspringer 2023.